Hello, I'm John, and this is part four of my analysis of Wallace Stevens' Invective against Swans. I've rectangled in blue the middle six lines that I had been dealing with. I had gotten to the middle of in the previous video. Um, Essentially, what's happening here is that there's this very chance event. It's contingent upon many other things happening simultaneously. This sun shower, particular sun shower, and it's the sun shower that marks the death of summer, this figurative way of expressing that summer is coming to an end. That, for me, was a crystallization of transience. When we become aware of time passing, that is, I think, the nature of endurance. What does it mean to endure? Well, I've split my infinitive, but I said to successfully put up with. If I speak about an era enduring, the Rome, I could say, endured for over 1,000 years, it means it lasted despite all of the stresses and tensions and outer threats that presented themselves that Rome was equal to, and it lasted for that amount of time. The same can be said of an individual. I could say that I endured that hour with Fred. Fred is very difficult to take. I also can say that we endured privation. We put up with material lack, and we came out of it. We came out on the other side successfully. Better times were to be found on the other side. Now, when I say that a civilization endured, an era endured, I'm really implicitly talking about the people who made up that culture, that civilization. Obviously, there must have been something about the civilization, the organizing principles that made that group of people, that population, resistant to any sort of attack or stress, anything that would undermine the culture and therefore undermine their sense of identity and cohesion. But it is still on the level of the individual that endurance occurs. The distinction between an era enduring and an individual enduring, I think, is expressed in this simile, like one who scrawls. The time is likened to an individual. We're not discussing a particular individual in the same sense as we're not discussing a particular place in this poem, but implicitly we have to be talking about an individual and indeed a place. Now, there is no real death here of anything, not the death of a civilization or the death of a person. Death is entirely figurative here. But I really can regard this as a crystallization of the awareness of transience. There is this sun shower, itself a highly chance occurrence, contingent upon several other events happening simultaneously. And this particular event, itself a crystallization, makes us aware of the passing of this time of year, of transience, and we regard or we respond to the awareness of time in a mode of endurance. Time slows down, it becomes bronze, heavy in a way, which suits us, of course, because we do not want the time to pass. We feel it fleeting away, and we would like to hold on to it. We thus spoke about the word testament, which is the ultimate endurance, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the last will and testament on the level of the individual, the Old Testament on the level of the civilization. The quirks and the caricatures are aspects of this transience. A caricature is, in fact, an exaggeration of something that I've experienced, as though by exaggerating it, I can draw it out and I could even hope to preserve it, make it apparent to others. Of course, when I write a testament, which is the attempt to preserve these fleeting moments, I do create something that is unavoidably listless, that's devoid of life. Now, I'd like to turn my attention to this word Pythian. Pythian really is the only explicit reference to the mythological, although there are intimations, both strong and weak, um, allusions that are suggested by certain words in this poem. Pythian is beyond any doubt a direct allusion to mythology. The word Pythian pertains to Aphrodite, the goddess of love, and to illicit love, which we could call also lust. Pythian comes from the word Paphos, which is a town even in modern day Cyprus on the southwest. It's the site of an ancient cult devoted to Aphrodite. It is an anagram also of Sappho, the ancient Greek poet of love. And Paphos is the name of the son or daughter, depending on what source, what myth you're reading, of Pygmalion and Galatea. Now, Pythian might just be a pretentious way, a pompous way of referring to a caricature of lustful excess. In fact, this fits in nicely with the aim of an invective. You'd like to point out the worst point of your opponent, and pointing out one's sexual weaknesses would be a particularly effective weapon. Pythian poses an apt contrast to testament. The Pythian refers to the illicit. Um, Testament refers to the licit, the legal, that which binds a society into a coherent whole, whereas the Pythian, the illicit, is something that threatens to undermine the coherence of the whole. So, by caricaturing these lustful excesses on the parts of people, I create a document that is more likely to maintain the coherence and to constrain us in a non-lustful way, to keep us on our best behavior, so to speak. Now, lust may be considered an extreme of vitality, but it is vitality nonetheless, which stands in marked contrast to the listlessness, the lack of vitality of the Testament. Now, Paphos is also the son or daughter of Pygmalion and Galatea, an extremely famous pair in mythology, the archetype of the artist falling in love with his own creation. As the myth goes, Pygmalion had carved out of a block of ivory this exquisitely beautiful statue of a woman that he fell in love with. He prayed to Aphrodite to bring her to life. Aphrodite assented, and as the daemon, she inhabited the figure of the statue. The statue came to life as the beautiful Galatea, Galatea, by the way, meaning milk white. And ultimately, from the union of Pygmalion and Galatea came the son or daughter, Paphos. Now, in the depth of this illusion, it suggested that there's a desire so potent that it actually can bring life into the world. Moreover, it's not mere desire, it's a productive love. It leads to the production of a child. This opposes the progress in the first line, in which the soul implicitly has arisen from death. Here, dead matter, the ivory, is invested with life. So the very human weakness that an invective would seek to target is actually an ultimate source of potency. But this lust for life, if you will, is concealed in this rather difficult construction. This very line is hexameter, which was a meter typical of classical Greek and Roman poetry. Dactylic hexameter would go something like da 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 da. Now, in this one, there are two dactyls, phi and caricatures. Now, what's a little off-putting here is that the dactyls are out of phase by one beat with the words in which they live. Now, I'm not talking a lot about the rhyme scheme, although it's significant because I still don't know enough about it to speak expertly. Not that I have a right to speak expertly about anything that I've been speaking about right now. But as I learn more and feel more comfortable about talking about spondees and trochees, I will. But here I'm going to limit my discussion to what I've just written. Now, although I said that the death of summer is simply a figurative way of stating that a season is coming to its end, there are some dynamic processes which I guess we could say, sadly, are coming to an end. And to the last two lines in this sentence, bequeathing your white feathers to the moon and giving your bland motions to the air. Bequeathing means, of course, that something has died and we're attempting to pass on something of its true essence. The object of the bequest are the white feathers of the swans that he is addressing. When this end of the summer comes, swans molt. Their white feathers are largely damaged through flight, fight, other activities of life, and of course, they need to pull them out so that they can promote the growth of new feathers. As a result of this molting, the swans are flightless for a couple of weeks. So they lose that dynamic quality. Also, they have finished with their sexual activity. So it's another loss of a dynamic quality. At this point in the year, the swans are simply devoted to the eggs that they lay and the eggs that hatch and the hatchlings that result. Now, the moon has several functions here, I think. For one, it is the marker of time passing. Recall that we had the bronze rain from the sun descending. The sun, of course, travels across the sky. It goes down, and when night comes, the moon, if it's out, is apparent. So it signals, it marks the passing of time. Again, it's a testament itself to transience. It also suggests there's a dated saying called a gander moon. It's the time when the female is confined to bed prior to childbirth, and the male, meaning the gander, wanders around. It sometimes refers to a male's extramarital affairs, or it simply could be the time when the male is wandering around without anything to do. Of course, now that summer is done, so is copulation, certainly among the swans, which are perfectly monogamous. Another likely allusion is to the goddess Artemis, the goddess of chastity and childbirth, who asked her father Zeus to permit her to remain forevermore a maiden, so not to be subject to wanton sexual desire. It is an appropriate time for the appearance of Artemis, as she is the goddess of childbirth, and her goal, her aim, is to ease the difficulties of women that are giving birth. Artemis waxes as the reproductive urge wanes, and perhaps the white feathers are a sign to Artemis that the ganders have surrendered their lustful, have retired from their lustful excesses. This last line is interesting, and giving your bland motions to the air. Giving might mean giving features, as a caricaturist might give features to your likeness as he draws you. Bland is an interesting word. Bland, of course, means again lacking vibrance or color, but bland can also mean agreeable, much like a bland smile. Your bland motions, the restrained, the sober swans, we might think, on the surface of the water, behaving respectably, and that being preserved, of course, in a backhanded way, because bland, as I said, meant colorless. The fact that these bland motions are being given to the air suggests that the winds have died down themselves. Recall the winds that brought the discords into the harmony of the parks. That would appear to have been wrapped up. But then the only vitality left is the vitality of the caricatures, which isn't much of vitality at all left in this setting. Let's wrap up the video with this. We began the poem with the soul engaged in a kind of abstract activity, existing beyond the world without place and event, where place existed really as just a generalization of places, an event existed among its elements, uncombined into an actually occurring event. In the section we just discussed, we converged upon a place, even though the place never fully crystallized, and something happened. With the end of the section and the culmination of the event, place, already not in a completely crystallized form, even grows vaguer. I think we'll see in the remainder of the poem that we return to a rather abstract state of affairs. But I'll save any more comments till then. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.